Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
The light is gleaming on you like an angel from heaven right now. But before he heads off to Milwaukee for game one, by the way, I'm a little nervous you're heading down there. Just considering the last time you were there. Just saying. You know, you could talk. I got your mic up if you want. So,
well, that's how you welcome me.
Yeah. Good morning, Brandon. Thanks for coming in on a Monday.
Thanks for coming in. I'm not exactly happy you're here, but you know. Good to see you too, Dan.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, you did pick the Cubs to win this.
I did.
So, but pleasantly surprised.
Oh yeah, always happy to be wrong.
But we're gonna talk. I want to sit here in a little bit early. We're going to talk some Brewers to lead it off. Definitely want to talk some Packers just because I want a vibe check from Packers fans of that performance from yesterday. It was a win and such, but I feel like maybe a little bit of a sour taste, a little left to be desired and such. So continue to send me your thoughts on that, your text on that, or comment on the video stream if you'd like. But hey, they got her done, man. How pumped were you Saturday nights?
I mean, obviously, very is kind of an understatement, but it's just kind of I don't know, like all day Saturday, like it was weird because like I wasn't really nervous or anxious. I think at that point, you know, we had talked about it kind of ad nauseum on Friday, but it kind of got to the point where I'm like, well, this goes one of two ways. And obviously it's either they win or they lose, but it's like kind of the fallout of whether you win or lose. You win, okay, you're moving on. You got a chance to go to the World Series. Obviously, you knew it was the Dodgers, like, or you lose, and you know, maybe the season just ultimately wasn't what we thought it was.
Yep.
And they were never trailing in that game, but to me, it just kind of felt like the first time I was kind of like, okay, like this could be happening was the Chad Patrick appearance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he comes in, gets a couple strikeouts, like gets out of a jam, and that at that point it's kind of like, okay, like it kind of to me that almost felt like a bit of a tone setter because the game was already half over, but like that just kind of felt like the moment where it was like, oh, okay, like this is developing, I think, the way they wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
Then trying, coming through with the big solo shot, just give a little bit of breathing room. And, it seemed like the script probably played out the way Pat Murphy was hoping.
Right.
And a lot of that goes, credit goes to Mizrowski and Chad Patrick in the middle innings.
Right.
I mean, that's nearly 6 innings from two rookies, two guys that weren't on this team, on opening day.
Right.
Or Patrick, I forget if Patrick was, but he wasn't, or whatever it was. But like, just two people that, you weren't sure, especially on the Chad Patrick end. I mean,
right,
that you weren't expecting back in March that in October they would be playing a significant role.
Mm-hmm. I look at this series, or I look at that game, excuse me, and what you mentioned there, even Patrick coming in a tight situation. I mean, Ashby getting with the huge strikeout of Tucker. I mean, that was a big one, but then coming in to hand the ball off to a youngster who has been pitching well in this postseason, but in that spot, I mean,
right,
to come out.
And the pitch to get out of it, like, I don't use this word often, but it was literally the perfect pitch.
Yeah.
The cutter on the outside edge. Like that's in that spot to be able to, rip that pitch off where, I mean, that's just one of those where if you're a hitter, you're probably not going to swing because it's probably going to look like it's a little outside, but
right.
He hit the edge, like
right.
He got the call. So, Chad Patrick is, one of those guys that, last week at the regular season, he kind of came back up because he was with the team. Obviously, we know for a lot of the year. Then he went back down just because of a depth thing because they just had so many pitchers.
Right.
And you kind of know, like, okay, well, your time might be coming again. There was some stuff he's been working on, and he's been just excellent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean the Miz too. Let's talk a little bit about him and his. We all knew he was going to be in this game. It just kind of depended on when he was going to come in and such. And I think it was pretty evident. He took a little bit off, but the control was there too, right? I mean, when you say it's a little bit off, he was still hitting triple digits
right.
and such, but it felt like his control was there, and just he looked more. How do I want to say this? Like he looked more dialed in, like just from we know he's a very emotional pitcher.
Yeah, like you could tell he's still emotional, but it wasn't quite as emotional probably as what we saw in his first appearance in the series.
Right, and I don't know if that's because he knew. Hey, I'm going to be in here for a few innings. Got to kind of harness that and channel that. And finally, I think it was his last time out there. He showed a little bit more emotion and such. I think
but he probably knew.
But, yeah, but I mean, you look at him in that performance. Now that's 2 games.
Yeah, that's 7 innings, 1 run.
Yeah,
and to give up that home run right away, and then to settle in the way he did, I think says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, right now he is still a guy that the emotions run hot with him. So you kind of want to see in those spots when something like that happens, how does somebody respond? And
Right.
obviously, encouraging to see how he responded with how the last 12 outs went.
Right. So that game was just almost, it was like it fit every narrative perfectly for the Brewers. I felt like two rookie pitchers leading the charge. And then for a team, they can't hit home runs. They won by 3 solo home runs in this game by Andrew Vaughn, who, was like, who? You never knew who he was before. Contreras, who's kind of, I feel like, been the postseason leader so far. And then Bryce Rang with his season, just to kind of, it just encapsulates, I think, a lot of things that we've seen from this Brewers team this year. And I thought it was really smart. I know we kind of talked about it a little bit Friday because I think our friend Jason was the one who said, do you start Uribe in a game? Went a little bit different approach. What with McGill?
But it was kind of the same thought process.
Right.
Which, as important as the first inning was, like, is it something to do? And I think that ended up being, well, one, very clairvoyant on Jason's end, but also just, I think, really important just to start that way.
Mm-hmm.
Be able to get a scoreless inning there. And I think that just kind of helped, settle in a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Setting that tone, but like also we know McGill's a very emotional guy too.
Right.
To go out there 11 pitches, get it out, and then fire up everybody just to kind of like, all right, here we go.
And it almost felt like for the first time since he's gotten back off the injury list, like that was Trevor McGill.
Yeah.
Like the first couple starts, you're just not sure. Okay, well, how's the velocity going to look like? But that was one where like, he was hitting upper nines with the fastball. He was able to, the curveball for strikes. And like, that was, after that outing, it was like, okay, it feels like McGill's back now.
Yeah.
Like, he's a guy that, you might be able to throw in obviously some high leverage spots and you feel good about it because he's got a little bit of that experience back now. It had been a little bit, obviously, with the injury, but.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was a game on Saturday that I can't remember. I mean, it's been a while where I was just like from start to finish. I was so tuned. Like I wanted that game so bad. Obviously, it's a do or die, but it's like you're living and breathing on almost every pitch.
Right.
And I had a buddy of mine that went. I didn't know he went to the game, and he's not the biggest baseball guy. Like he's told me this too. He's like, yeah, I'm glad my kids are in little league, that sort of stuff. But he went to the game and last night he's texting. He's like, dude, I've never experienced anything like that before. I'm like, playoff baseball is a different feel. Like if you've never been to a playoff baseball game, it's a different feel. Yep. It's kind of hard to put into words, but just, I don't know if it's more, and I was trying to think about this last night too. Like, I don't know if it's more like, okay, I've been to plenty of, Packer playoff games and experienced that. The expectation's always been fairly high for Green Bay. Like I'm trying to put it in a comparison, like whereas the Brewers, it's like, okay, yeah, the last few years we've been there, but it's like, you just want a little bit more of it. You know what I mean? Like, what I'm trying to say? Yeah. Like, is there just that type of energy because it's a Brewers team that we're still waiting to see that first championship.
Right.
From.
You want to see, okay, can we get that breakthrough at some point?
Mm-hmm. Right. And if I will say, if anybody has never been to a playoff baseball game, it is different. Like everybody told me, when I finally went to one and I'm like, yep, going to a hockey game in person is completely different than watching it.
Hockey is awesome live.
Yeah, it is. And the environment at AmFam Field, I mean, it looked like it was right. I can't wait to see what it is tonight.
Yeah, shout out to those fans. I mean, they brought it, for those games.
Mm-hmm. Say, buddy of mine might have found the Cubs trying to do a little cowbell. Apparently it's a thread on Reddit too because he found it. Somebody else posted it on like a Brewers Reddit sort of thing. Naughty Cubs. Didn't matter though, right? Because he texted me. He's like, I wonder if MLB is going to say anything about the cowbell thing. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then he told me, he's like, well, in the eighth, because he was right behind. He was sitting, I think, first or second row behind the Cubs dugout. He said, when Uribe came in, all of a sudden, some Cubs person was hitting the cowbell on every like breaking pitch or change or
probably a slider for him.
Yeah.
Sinker slider for Uribe.
Yeah. So every time it wasn't on every pitch, but they like hit the cowbell with a drumstick. I'm like, oh, all right. Didn't matter.
I was gonna say, maybe it was so loud they couldn't hear it.
Right, but glad we're not talking about it.
Oh my gosh,
can you imagine? So, All right, let's continue to talk some more Brewers. Let's look ahead to game one because it's a quick turnaround.
Yeah, it is. That's the thing about baseball playoffs. You don't really have much time to rest,
Yeah.
especially when it's you're coming off a game 5 scenario where obviously the Dodgers have had a few days to kind of rest and set things up, and yeah, you jump back in it. You don't got much time to dilly dally.
And we don't know the roster yet, but maybe a little bit of change considering how the off days are built in and 7-game series.
It sounds like that might be the case. So.
Yeah. Game one between Brewers Dodgers going to be 7:08 tonight. So you guys are going to be doing a lot of tailgate. It sounds like if you're getting ready to leave here in a couple hours.
Yeah, we've got a couple ideas.
Some pit stops and such maybe on the way there too. But nice. So yeah, bring back a W, Brandon, because C-Bomb's already threatening.
I was going to say bring back one or don't come back at all, right?
All right. So I mean, this is a handful of playoff games for you now that you've gone for Brewers, right? Couple at least.
Yeah.
So, but all right, you excited? Has it kicked in yet for you tonight?
Not yet. I probably will. I'm sure on the drive down there or whatever. So
right when the adrenaline starts to
probably
pump in a little bit. So who's throwing up first pitch?
I don't know. I was thinking about that too. Because I mean they may not try to double up, but and I was really glad to see Paul Molitor. I mean that's a relationship that's kind of obviously got strained with how ultimately Paul exited with just the breakdown of communication with on the Brewers end too. I mean
right,
but I'm curious to see because Ryan Braun's around.
Yeah, he was. He was there. So
he was there. So I mean, are they going to go newer? I mean, there's still obviously smaller guys you want to go with, maybe like a Raleigh Fingers or something like that.
I feel like Yount is going to do one at some point.
Yeah. Because I think he did last year for the third game of the wild card series. Pete, maybe like a Pete Vukovich or something.
Ooh, good pull, yeah.
Like there's plenty of options, so I'm curious. Now, if we're gonna go like the Solomon Torres route again, which again I was all for.
That one was just so out of left field.
I loved it. I saw that. I'm like, what? And then people are like, why Solomon Torres? I'm like, why not?
Yeah, it worked, right? I mean,
like a John Axford or something.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well get K-Rod in this mix there too. So, I'm trying to think who else would be just like.
I think I did see. Well, speaking of Francisco Rodriguez, I think there's a stat coming out there that I think it was Mizrowski is the first rookie pitcher to win 2 games. I don't know if it's in the postseason or just in a single series since Francisco Rodriguez.
Oh,
for like the 0-2 Angels.
Wow. All right. How about Eric Gagne? Or trying to think.
I was saying, are we gonna try to find?
It'd be perfect. It was Uni for you.
I might leave.
Betancourt, yeah.
But I might leave if that's the case.
Oh man.
But there's plenty of options. So we'll see.
Yeah. So game 1 tonight, Brewers Dodgers. We don't know the rosters out yet.
That should be, I believe it's later today.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. So they can do that later today. But Pat Murphy talked a little bit with the media. By the way, love Pat Murphy making everybody introduce themselves if they're new, including the Japanese reporters yesterday. Yep. So gotta stand like it's like you're the new kid in school. Stand up and introduce yourself. I love
kindergarten cop. Who is your daddy and what does he do?
But so we don't know the roster yet. But listen to Pat Murphy yesterday, and he's right because it's a longer series, but also shorter days. So they may be looking at carrying some pitchers that could give you a little bit more length. So does that mean guys like maybe Tobias Myers is going to be in there, and Eric Fetty or something like that?
Could be. I mean, and the other thing that it sounded like is maybe was it because he kind of alluded to 12 position players?
Yeah.
So that would be only 4 guys off the bench. So. Is that maybe a lack of Lockridge?
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, because you feel like you probably got the outfield coverage with, both Collins and Perkins.
Yep.
We've talked about, kind of the scenario there.
But Monasterio could play all over the infield.
He can play a corner outfield spot if needed. But
Bowers,
I mean, he could play a corner outfield spot too. I mean, it's not ideal. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but like he can do it.
Right.
So, but yeah, another arm in there. This is another series, a bit like the Cubs series where I mentioned like the importance of lefty pitching.
So does that mean DL Hall you think would be on this roster?
Like I could see maybe Hall in and Gasser out.
Yeah.
And then, how lefty heavy do they want to go? Because remember, at the top of that order, you got Ohtani, you got Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
So
Could you see where maybe like a Tobias gets in over Rob? Just
I
to
could see
kind
that.
of
Yeah,
subbing
again,
him
another
in out?
guy that pitched really well as a reliever
Mhm.
and can give you multiple innings.
And he has playoff
And he
experience. I
does, yeah.
mean,
And remember, he pitched game 3 of the wild card round last year, pitched very well.
right.
So, but yeah, because right now, I mean, we know Freddie Peralta starting game 2.
Yep.
Pat Murphy mentioned Quinn Priester and Jose Quintana, and maybe the possibility of a bullpen game. I
Mhm.
mean, we'll see there, but um,
So if
But there's
it's
still-
Quintana, why don't they just come out and say Quintana? Is it just gamesmanship at this point?
maybe part of
mean,
it. Maybe they're still going over their options. I mean,
mhm.
I've kind of went back and forth on this. Like, I would say right now, like for who do you have more faith in right now for like a postseason starter, Quintana or Priester? I would say Quintana.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the experience. Like,
Right.
But at the same time, it's like I wouldn't mind maybe if you hold off Quintana until game 3 because
Okay.
then you can pitch him in LA. Like he's not gonna, and I do think the moment was probably maybe a little big for Priester. I mean, look, we know the story now. Cubs fan pitching at Wrigley in the playoffs, that kind of thing.
Right.
Maybe American Family Field is a little bit in a game 1 is a little bit more of a
Mhm.
a comfortable situation for him. Jose Quintana's not going to blink going to pitch in Dodger Stadium. I mean, he's pitched in so many big games over the years. Like that's just a veteran that knows.
Mhm.
And he's a guy that I think is going to be important to get, kind of nice, ideally 2 starts out just as a lefty, going up against the lineup to show something different because obviously Jose Quintana is much different pitcher than pretty much anyone on that Brewers lineup where he's barely touching 90. I mean, he is obviously he's the quintessential veteran. He's the old
Right.
guy that gets outs.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
And I think that's important to have. I think just having different guys that give you different looks is so important.
Mhm.
And he's a guy that, this is what you brought him in here for.
Right. Right. So could you see then, would it be, because I agree with you, if you do like a bullpen or something like that, you'd almost want to do it at home to have that home environment a little bit.
Right.
Right.
I mean, if that's something you do, maybe this is the game to do it, or maybe you do start. I mean, Theo Hall, like it's a bit of a leap of faith because he hasn't pitched.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He hasn't pitched. He pitched in the finale, right? The regular season finale, right?
I believe so. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, because it was both him and McGill that came back.
That's right. Yep.
Do you try to get him maybe one time through the lineup, with some of those lefties, and then you go to Priester?
Right.
And because that combination worked during the regular season. And Priester, I'm a little more comfortable doing that with because he's shown he's fine with that.
Mhm.
Like Quintana's a veteran. Like sometimes I'm just like, in that case, I don't know if I want to mess with, his pregame routine and stuff like that. Cause he's just not like, it's the same reason like you never do with Freddie Peralta. Like he's just a starter. Like
Mhm. Yep.
don't, that's one where you don't really need to do it.
Right.
So, but maybe tonight that's where you do it, where you try to get, DL Hall one time through,
Mhm.
or at least, I mean, depending on the lineup, through a certain point where maybe there's like 4 of the first 7 are lefties or something like that.
Right.
But, maybe that's the case. And he would be maybe, I think the guy to do it because Ashby, I think I'd rather just see him be more of the middle reliever, matchup lefty guy than,
Mhm.
The opener.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, yeah, at this point too, I would feel like Chad Patrick's probably just settled into that relief guy.
He might, he might be just kind of like the guy the fireman, the guy that has to come in and put out the fire.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I thought that game on Saturday, Murphy did a fantastic job with the pitching. Like, because I'm sitting there thinking, like, okay, who's going to come in after Miz? Like, I'm doing it in my head. I'm like, okay, maybe the 7th is Ashby, 8. Just trying to do the math in my head. And then Ashby came in, and you could tell he's a little off. Got the huge strikeout from Tucker, but not messing around. Goes to Patrick. Patrick was amazing, and then giving the ball to Uribe for 2 innings.
Right. And Uribe hadn't pitched very much. So like he had it in him. I think if they were just kind of planning it out beforehand, like, okay, we're going to start with McGill, ideal, best case scenario, McGill gets through 1,
Mm-hmm.
Mizorowski, best case scenario 4.
Yep.
I'm sure probably best case scenario would have been Ashby for that next inning, but like,
right.
They got basically, if you get to the point where you've got the lead and you still have, Uribe and, Koenig, I'm sure were kind of their top 2, but just the way it worked out, they didn't have to go to Koenig.
Right. Or Mears maybe too.
Yeah. Mears is another guy that obviously he has got a lot of confidence in throwing out there. And
that's why I wondered, did they kind of like, okay, we're going to go to Uribe, but if he's a little shaky, they have those options to go to those guys as backup ones.
Right. And, you're going to talk about a lot in the series, but it's all about the windows.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, where are we at in the lineup here where, okay, well, once it got to that point where they cleared, or I think it was Suzuki came in for, because it was Suzuki and Happ, I think, that Patrick struck out in the 6th. I think it was obviously Suzuki's a righty, Happ's a switch hitter, and then after that was Carson Kelly a righty. So you're probably thinking, okay, well, Patrick, we need you to get through this. You got 2 of the next 3 are righties. And then after that, it's like, well, he pitched well. The matchups are still there. We can get another inning out of this.
Yeah.
And he did. Like he, kept with kind of what was working.
Right. Didn't maybe overthink it a little bit, and I know they kind of mentioned that on the telecast too. It was like sometimes, just the pitcher's going and he's feeling, you keep going with it. You keep riding that. But I thought it worked out beautifully for a bullpen game to go through McGill, Mizorowski, Ashby, Patrick, and then Uribe, 5 pitchers.
Right.
That's pretty remarkable, I would say.
Right. Yeah. You got,
because the Cubs went through a lot of their high leverage guys right away.
right. And that's what happens when you're behind. Like I go back to game 7 of 2018 NLCS. Like Josh Hader pitched in the middle innings because like that's when it was still close. Like you want to use your guys when they're still close, even though, if someone's a 9th inning guy, you can't be like, well, we got to wait for him for the 9th necessarily because, well, what if you're down 5-1 in the 9th? Then what's the point?
Right.
Like you need, high leverage means you use them in the most important times. And yes, a lot of times that's 9th inning. But if it's, the 5th inning and you get the bases loaded for, Kyle Tucker, it's like, well, maybe that's the time then. And that's kind of what he did with Danny Palencia, or Counsell did with Palencia when he came in with the bases loaded for Joey Ortiz and, got out of the jam.
Yeah.
Joey Ortiz gets a hit there suddenly instead of, 1-1 or 2-1. I forget. It was 1-1 at the time, I think. Then maybe it's 3-1. And then, well, what's the point of having your guy if you're having to play catch up with it?
Right. So we know the Brewers are going up against Blake Snell tonight, left-handed pitcher who missed a big chunk of the regular season, but has been pitching really well as of late here. When you look at the numbers and such, a lot of, I think a big key to victory, and a lot of people have mentioned this too, is can they rack up the pitch count against some of these starters and get to that bullpen?
Well, especially Blake Snell, because it's great. Blake Snell's a great pitcher, but he's had times in his career where he's a 5-inning guy. It's a bit Freddie Peralta like, where there's just a lot of nibbling and he's just a little off. Like that's going to be bearing, and that's something the Brewers have done well this year. I mean, that's just obviously the lineup they have. Like, how many can you stack a couple 20 pitch innings? Because then suddenly if it's the 3rd inning and he's already in the 50s, like that's where you want to be.
Right.
So, but and assuming you're going to have the lefty lineup in there, you're going to have the Blake Perkinses in there, and guys that are going to want to grind out of bats, like Caleb Durbin. I mean, he's going to be in there regardless, but like
right,
those guys that just grind out bats, waste pitches, spoil pitches.
One guy too. I kind of mentioned a little bit in the first hour, but when we go back to Game 5 and just how I think kind of maybe how well he played, but maybe doesn't get a lot of the talk with this, was Caleb Durbin. Couple hits and a walk. I mean, he was on base 3 times.
Defense.
Yeah, I mean that one that he charged and got. I mean, that looked a little Joey Ortiz-esque for how quick he got it out of the glove to throw it first. That guy, defensively, just the improvement throughout the season has been awesome.
Right.
To
I mean,
watch.
he's come a long way in a short period of time. But remember, he was more of a second baseman.
Yeah.
And the kind of the question was, well, does he have the arm for third? It's like his arm is fine for third base. So, but it was, how does this work? And, it took him a little time, as you would imagine it would, but, he gets up to speed and, you kind of know what you're getting offensively. He's going to grind at bats. He's probably going to get hit by a pitch at some point.
But I mean,
he's going to put the ball in play.
I know it didn't matter, but I mean, aggressive stealing the base.
Yeah. And that was even at the time when initially it was, I think it was called out initially. I'm like, no, they needed to do that.
Right.
Like, they just, a combination of maybe just how the game was going. You get up early, big in the first 2 games. You're not going to steal bases.
Right.
You're behind, and especially game 4, you're behind by a fair amount. It's like, well, you're not going to steal bases when you're down 5.
Right.
Like, that's a part of their game. Like, and that's just something that game script kind of didn't allow them to really maximize. And look, Carson Kelly's got their own catcher too, so that's part of it. But and we'll see. I mean, Will Smith is back behind the plate. Like, it doesn't get any easier. Will Smith is an excellent catcher. So, but it's something you got to try because that's what you do.
Right.